there's a couple of ways that you can propagate Cuban oregano from cuttings. Right here I have a Cuban oregano plant that has grown this really long stem and it started a root. So I'm gonna cut it right here and just pull it up. And there's another piece right here that also has rooted. So now I'll take this and plant it. It can also just be propagated by cutting, so I'm gonna take a cutting and take off the lower leaves. And then cut it right here so it has a couple nodes where it can root from. And then I'll plant this. Now here's a stem that has grown really long and I'm gonna propagate it also, so I'm just gonna cut it. And now I will put this on the ground. So this is under my papaya tree, and at one point I pruned this really big Cuban oregano that I had, and I decided to put it around the papaya tree for mulch, and it ended up rooting all over the place, and now I have Cuban oregano growing under my papaya tree. And there's also some longevity spinach growing over from the patch back here. So this is the Cuban oregano. The one with the more round leaf and the jagged edges, and it's also very succulent. And this is the longevity spinach. So you see, not very round leaves. I really liked how the Cuban oregano turned out under the papaya tree, so I decided I wanted to do the same thing under my oak tree. And I also planted a vanilla orchid to climb up the oak tree right here. And I also have a video about that, so if you want to check that out, I'm going to leave a link down below in the description so you can do that. So there's a couple of ways that you can propagate Cuban oregano from cuttings. And the first and most easiest way would be how I propagated the Cuban oregano under the papaya tree, which it was just from some stems that I pruned off and I put under the tree and they rooted. So I'm going to be doing the same thing under the oak tree with this stem right here. Then I'm going to like bury it a little bit under the soil, but pretty much I'm just going to leave it above the ground. And then there's also this other method, which you can just take a cutting of Cuban oregano and take off the bottom leaves and stick it in the ground, make a hole with the stick and just bury it into the ground and make sure a couple nodes are buried. So I'm going to try this method also. And my Cuban oregano plant that I have, another one, had some stems and they like sort of went down and started growing near the ground and they ended up rooting. So I pulled those up and I'm actually going to plant these there. So these should do well. But yeah, so let's get to it. So for the ones that are already rooted, I'm just gonna remove the bottom leaves. And plant that and bury it a little bit deeper so that way these nodes above here can also root. And here's the other one, so I'm just gonna take off this bit right here. And again, remove the bottom leaves and plant that. This long one, which is a big branch that I pruned off, I'm going to leave the leaves because I think it'll root along all these nodes and all these little leaves will grow up and make for a nice ground cover. And this is the other one, so I'm just going to pop a hole into the ground and stick this in there and hope it roots. So first I'm gonna plant this one, and I'm gonna move the coconut out of the way. I was hoping it would grow, but it doesn't look like it's going to. Now, there are a lot of ants here that are living in this organic matter. So, just in case I get bit or something. Just gonna move away the mulch. And I have with me a nice stick. And I'm gonna poke a hole into the ground. And I twist it around like this to make the hole a bit bigger so the cutting can fit in. And down it goes. And let me mix up the soil around it. And now after I plant all of these, I'll water them in so the soil and mulch can settle. And that's that. You can also plant this in a pot, but I'm too lazy for that, so I'm just gonna try growing it in the ground. I'm just gonna move away the soil just a little bit. And nestle him into there. Let me take off these big leaves right here. And nestle him in there. And then sort of bury him slightly. Right here is my vanilla orchid, and here are my rooted cuttings and some weeds. Get those out of the way and move away the mulch. Digging a hole. And plopping this one right in the ground. So I actually accidentally broke the stem, so I'm just gonna plant one Cuban oregano, and I'm gonna use this one and be careful not to snap the stem this time. These plants can grow a lot, so I wouldn't plant them really close, because then you're gonna have way more Cuban oregano than you know what to do with, which is not a bad thing. So here is one, here is the other one, and there is the third one. And now these will grow and be a beautiful ground cover under this oak tree. So I'm done planting my Cuban oregano. It's a really easy plant to grow. So if you want to learn more about Cuban oregano, then I have a plant profile post on my website where you can read more about it. If you want to see an update video about my Cuban oregano and vanilla orchid, then keep an eye out for a future video that I'll be doing about an updated garden tour where I'll cover all that. Thanks for joining me in this video. Don't forget to like it down below and leave a comment and let me know if you have ever grown Cuban oregano and where you're growing it. Maybe you're growing it in somewhere that's cold and you have to bring it indoors for the winter. I'd just love to know. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the red subscribe button down below so you won't miss out on any of my other videos, because I post one up every Friday. Thanks for watching.